flowers for this perfume company, and they were throwing an event in Beverly Hills for their new scent. And it was very floral, it was a spring event. And so I chose to do English tea roses, some poppies, and parrot tulips. And this is my first time making giant flowers. I've made tons of bouquets of paper flowers before, but at regular scale. So I was a little bit nervous, and the entire project was an experiment all the way through, which makes it even more scary. I luckily had my art studio, so I prepared it in my guest room, and I started by making a simple sample of a poppy because, again, I had never done this before. I took the job from a colleague who was unavailable to do it, who had made these flowers in the past, and her flowers were absolutely stunning, and it was really, really hard shoes to fill. So I was just playing around with this Italian crepe paper. It's really beautiful. I've never worked with it before. It's not the easiest to cut and draw on, but it's really stunning once you start putting everything together. The cool thing about this paper is that it stretches. So you can cut it a little bit smaller, and then you take it and you stretch it, but you have to also work with the grain of the paper. If you cut it the wrong way, it won't stretch the way that you want to stretch it. So again, everything was trial and error, and I learned all of these lessons while doing this project. And not to mention, it was a crunch project, which means they needed these flowers faster than I could produce them. So I did hire a small team to help me get these moving, and it was nuts. These roses, they took over 100 petals each. So I had to cut a lot of petals. I think we made in the end 12 roses, so over 1,200 petals for just the roses. Luckily, the poppies and the tulips only had like 5 or 6 petals each, so that was easier, but there were certainly challenges that came up for those flowers as well. It was just every day you hit lots of bumps and you slept like a rock because your brain had no more to give. But it was such a fun project. I loved making these flowers. Any project or job that I can get where I make things from scratch is exactly what I'm trying to manifest my way, because that's what I like the best. Here we have all of the rose petals in the various colors I chose, all lined up, ready to go. And doing a practice rose, it was quite a learning curve, truly. Just learning how to put these all together now that you have everything cut and your hands are so cramped and sore and you have blisters from your scissors. Now it's time to get blisters from your glue gun. And boy, my hands hurt probably a month after this project. But of course, rewards, some buttercream cake from a nearby cafe called Doubting Thomas. Love that place. My friend Amber, who was on this project with me, loves delicious treats and recommended we get Doubting Thomas for lunch. And we treated ourselves to that, and it was a treat that I still remember to this day, and it's been a year and a half after this project. So here we go, showing you cutting petals. I cut about 8 petals at a time just by lining it up, clipping it together, and then cutting it cutting away all the stray, jagged ends. It was so time consuming. I spent days upon days just cutting. Now I'm going in and trimming off the raggedy ends, making things a little curvy and stretching each petal so they're just ready to go when I'm ready to actually make them and put them together. As you can see, this is just 2 roses full, not even. I still have a pile to get through to make it to 2. This is a wild, wild project. So much learning involved, but it was actually really therapeutic. And if I had the amount of time I needed to get this project done, it certainly would have been probably one of the best projects I've ever been hired to do. Look at these petals though, the colors are so beautiful. They're screaming springtime, they're screaming delicate and lovely. So this was my first trial rose, and I noticed I made the bulb in the center a little bit too big. So moving forward, I made all of the rest of those inner bulbs about a quarter of that size. And as you can see, as I make this first flower, you can see that bulb inside. No matter if I tied the flower together, it was still visible. So I have Amber over there with a smaller bulb because we learned the lesson immediately and took action immediately, and it's all about trial and error. So we did go back and fix this flower just by implementing more petals to the middle, and there is the result of the flower made the correct way, and it's so beautiful. Look at them all in a cluster. They're so pretty. So now that we've learned how to do it, we go to town and we make all of the roses. We just complete the roses so we can move on to the poppies and the tulips, because we've never made those before, and boy are their learning curves coming right on up. Now here's a few stills from that very fast time-lapse video of the process of making this. Look how pretty the ruffly flower, they really give that beautiful rose feeling. We were cracking each other up this entire time, but also we were very delirious. So onto the parrot tulips. They're gonna be like this really beautiful periwinkle purple, and we paint them with like a plum purple vibe. So pretty. We used kind of a watery thick paint to add water to it, and then just brushed strokes on it, and it really gave it such a beautiful natural feel. And parrot tulips are really jaggedy edge. They're kind of wild, you know, they have a little life of their own. All of the petals do their own thing. We also made tiny rosebuds that came off a couple of the roses, so there they are. They're so cute. We attached them to a couple roses, and onto the poppies we go. Those are the poppy centers and the poppy stems that come through the center of that, like that. And those were wild. Everything that you see is so time consuming. Honestly, these like poppy centers probably took a day and a half to make. There was, I think, 5 poppies, and each of them had about 100 of those centers. Now that's the center of the tulip, and they came out really delicate and beautiful. Here we are building the poppies. Now the petals need to be glued together, so they're a little chaotic in these images, but I was working so fast. We were working so fast. It's even a miracle I documented anything, to be honest. So documentation wasn't my priority, and I am lucky to have it, honestly. Of course, I wish I did more, but phew, Banjo saying it all. We were so tired. Even Banjo was tuckered out, and he was just hanging out, soaking in our energy. He's out like a rock. He can't even open his eyes. Look at him. Out. So I chose this dark green for the stems, and we make bases, concrete bases, so they're heavy enough to hold the flowers, because the roses are really heavy. They're 100 petals, so they're extremely heavy. And the wire in the poppies for the stems got heavy too. So having a sturdy, heavy base to stick them into was really necessary. We also made sandbags to hold them down and wrap them in the green Italian crepe paper. Onto the foliage, we've got rose petals for the leaves for the roses, the grass for the bottom of the bases to fill in, and we've got also made some leaves for the poppies. Those are the tulips leaves, the long ones, and the poppy leaves are to the left. Really fun. They're so pretty. They add to the element. They add the texture. Those are all the little grasses that go into the base. So many different elements that we had to keep track on. Now here are some finished poppies. So pretty. And then the tulips, look inside that tulip. Wow, look at that. It's just, we worked so hard on this, and all of the bumps that we hit, we really found solutions to solve it. And there they are. They're just waiting to get wrapped up, and we put them together on set at the event so they didn't get damaged in transit. So we had the flower tops and then the stems, and we attached the flower tops to the stems. There are little tiny rosebuds. We put those on site too, because we were worried of them snapping off in the truck. Adding all the leaves to our flowers, and now we're in Beverly Hills. Look at these roses. Are you kidding me? It's incredible what paper can do, don't you think? I love paper, obviously. I mean, all of my sets are paper heavy. I'm a paper artist, and I'm always just so surprised and impressed with what paper can do. Now, I went around with my glue gun and I glued all these petals that you see that aren't attached. So some of these photos were taken right before I did that. But it's okay. You see the progress, and you see also, how things take shape, and there's always little bumps in the road, and you have to just be prepared and ready to take it on. This was also a really windy install. The event wasn't windy, but the install was incredibly windy. It was knocking the petals down. It was really causing chaos, but we handled it as a team. I had 2 assistants on this, and the event was just so beautiful. The event planner did such a beautiful job. Every little detail was just absolutely gorgeous. She's a very talented lady, and I was so honored to be a part of this project. So we did a couple clusters of the flowers growing in the garden all around the property. Look how pretty that is. That's the entrance. That's where the musician played. So all eyes on the musician with my flowers surrounding them. Beautiful table of flowers over here, and that one rose was the posing rose. It came off the base and people could take it and walk with it and take pictures with it. but naturally, the clusters of flowers were the hit spot for all the influencers to take pictures in front of. And I don't blame them. If I was in that event, I would have wanted my photo taken in front of the clusters. Look how pretty this event is. So, so lovely, like an English tea party outside in a garden in beautiful Beverly Hills. It was just, I felt so lucky to be a part of this. I really never take any job for granted. Every job I take, I really do my best to pay attention to all the details. I'm walking around with the creative director right now, and we're moving flowers around to create the clusters. And look at that, so pretty. I did not sleep for probably 3 weeks, and I'm so sorry for how I look here. I had no business being out in the world, to be honest. So look at me, delirious, tired, but present and doing my job. That was the designer, and she was such a doll. We went to Mel's Drive-In, which is a diner close by to the venue, for dinner while the event was going on, and just relaxed and ate some really delicious diner food. I love diners, so any chance I can make it to a diner, I'm going. Here are the flowers at night. We were about to strike them, and some event photos from all of the influencers checking out this new perfume brand, the musician singing, some beautiful photos of influencers with the flowers. Look at it. It really set the tone, and the musician was practicing while we were setting up, and she played such beautiful music. This event was truly lovely. So the next day, I had to go to Beverly Hills to Neiman Marcus and set up the flowers again. I was beyond exhausted. Look at me. I'm a zombie. I am a zombie. Oh my goodness. But it was worth it. They had a little moment where they were giving a presentation on it. So that one was that. And then here is the store presentation of the new perfume. So this was standing in the store for probably a couple weeks. This was also around Mother's Day. So all of the flowers for the presentation got scooted into this area as well. And yeah, what a whammer of a project. This was one to remember, one for the books. I had such a great time fabricating, and I truly hope I get more projects where I get to make things from scratch, because I love it. I'm an artist by heart. I do it in my free time, and I'm just manifesting more of that. So I was lucky to bring a couple flowers home with me, and thank goodness, because I was so attached to them. And of course, I did a little styled shoot with them, one of more to come. Please check out my page, Amma Does It, to see that video. I posted it last week. And, thank you so much for stopping by. Do subscribe, like, comment. I love hearing from you guys. All right, see you on the next one.